Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Atowak Manta-X. This watch will be available from Atowak.com on pre-order from the 15th of April for $3,800 which is €3,500. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a hard shell travel case which is housed inside this outer black cardboard box. One removes the lid to the outer box, which is a snug fit. And inside we have a folded piece of foam, and this acts as a protective panel to protect the hard shell travel case inside the outer box. So in the base of the outer box we have a foam cutout, and that houses the hard shell travel case, which I'll take out and show you. So the hard shell travel case is wrapped with protective greaseproof paper, and this does a good job of protecting it in shipping. So this is the hard shell travel case. It's made from a sailcloth weave grey velour fabric, and we also have flawless stitching in matching grey around the perimeter. Stainless steel popper securing the flap, and that has a badge on it which has a glossy finish to it with the Atowak brand emblem. So stainless steel popper does a good job. The interior is fully upholstered with a contrasting blue velour fabric to a good standard and matching blue stitching around the perimeter. And in the base we have two slots in the flanks, and this padded pillow cushion has two hard ribs which engage with the two slots. So as you can see, on the left and the right hand flank of the padded pillow cushion we have these hard ribs, and the padded pillow cushion is also fully upholstered with a blue velour fabric to a good standard. So nice snug fit. The two ribs engage very well with the two slots in the base, and it prevents the watch from sliding around inside the hard shell travel case, and it does a good job of protecting it. So Atowak deserve credit here for coming up with an original design, and also it's very aesthetically pleasing because it has a nice curved profile to it. And for example, they could have used the less expensive default option of just a plastic or cardboard watch box, but this hard shell travel case is interesting and I think it's very good looking. Now, with regards to the items that come with the watch, you also get this tag which has the Atowak emblem, and on the reverse we have the full reference number and barcode for this Manta-X. The Manta-X will be available in a plethora of colour options. This is the purple version. One also gets this silicone rubber moulded case cover. As you can see, it's in the shape of the case, and this fits around the head of the piece when it's in shipping to protect it from any scuffs and scratches, which is very good. And one also gets a second cardboard box, as you can see, with a snug lid. So I'm just going to remove it and show you. So again, we have a foam cutout in the base, and it houses two items which I'll take out and show you. So you get this plastic tube, and inside it contains a 1.2mm jeweler's screwdriver which is made from stainless steel with a hardened tool steel tip which is replaceable. Knurled shank to it, also has a knurled rotating head, and this is used for removing the integrated strap, which I'll show you. It's secured by screws into the lugs rather than spring bars, so good to get this included. It's also the correct size for tightening up the screws in the titanium buckle on the buckle and tang, which again I'll show you. So lastly, as an alternative to the sailcloth and leather fabric strap that come fitted to the piece, you also get this leather strap, as you can see. So it's got a black grained finish to the liner on the underside. Good attention to detail because it's embossed with the Atowak emblem, and as you can see, this has integrated lugs, and rather than spring bars there are titanium screws which screw into the head of the piece, which I'll show you. We have one keeper on the buckle and tang side which slides rather than one fixed and one that moves. Now, it's a padded strap, so at the integrated lug end it's padded and it's very stiff, but at the buckle and tang end it's very thin and flexible, so it feels very soft and supple, rather like a silicone rubber strap, so it's not going to require any breaking in. Now, I do not think that this suits the purple tone of this piece, as you can see, but this is subjective. Some collectors might like it, but I think as an alternative to the black sailcloth weave and leather fabric strap, they should have included a rubber strap in purple, for example, to match the purple tone of the piece. But this just demonstrates the alternative straps which are available to the black sailcloth weave strap, which is fitted to the head of the piece. So it's made from leather, very flexible, very well finished, and on the buckle and tang it's made from grade 5 titanium, and it's signed, as you can see, with an embossed Atowak logo, and it's also got cutouts in the flanks, and there are three 1.2mm flathead titanium screws. You can use the included jeweler's screwdriver to tighten up these titanium screws if they become loose, and it's very modern, futuristic design with an angular profile to it, very lightweight because it's made from grade 5 titanium. It's got a matte bead blasted effect to it, it's got an anthracite tone to the titanium which is natural, and it is very well finished, no sharp edges, no burrs to it, and the leather is good quality. The liner is also very well finished, it's very smooth and comfortable. So I'll show you the other side to it. Plenty of holes in it. So this will fit from a 6 up to an 8-inch wrist with no difficulty whatsoever. Good to see plenty of holes. Again, very soft and supple at the buckle and tang end because it's very thin at the buckle and tang end, but at the integrated lug end, which is where it needs to be reinforced and stiffer and stronger, you can see it's much more thicker. So it's padded at the integrated lug end, and then it tapers down in thickness and also width down to the buckle and tang end. Very flexible at the buckle and tang end. And the underside has a nice grained genuine leather liner to it, and good attention to detail because it's embossed with the Atowak logo. So good quality, but subjectively not to my personal taste, and as I've detailed, I don't think the tone of the grained finish matches the purple tone on this piece, but it's just there to demonstrate the alternatives to the fabric strap. Now, the two things that are missing from this piece, and I would like to see Atowak incorporate, are an owner's instruction manual and also a warranty card. The watch is covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good, but there is no plastic warranty card. The other thing is, I would like to see an owner's instruction manual in the form of a booklet with instructions in English and high definition pictures detailing the operation of the movement used, which is the Atowak Caliber AK07BA automatic. As an alternative, they can include a plastic card with a QR code that can be scanned with an Android or iPhone, and that would download the owner's instruction manual with clear, concise diagrams and instructions in English. That really needs to be incorporated because this is a mid-tier piece costing €3,800 or 3,800 US dollars, which is €3,500. An owner's instruction manual and warranty card are to be expected. So, as I've detailed, this piece features the world's first 180-degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system. So, the specifications of the piece are as follows. We have a 41.8mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 49.4mm. We have a thickness of 16.8mm and an integrated lug width of 20mm. The integrated fabric sailcloth strap, which has a leather underside to it, is 25.6mm at the widest point of the integrated lugs, down to 19.6mm at the grade 5 titanium buckle and tang. The grade 5 titanium buckle and tang is signed with an embossed Atowak. It's got a matte anthracite finish to it, and we have 3 flathead titanium screws in the left hand flank and the right hand flank, and as I've detailed, there's a 1.2mm flathead jeweler's screwdriver included if you need to tighten these titanium screws up. So, cutouts in the flanks and no sharp edges, doesn't have sharp corners, it's been deburred and chamfered very well, and the titanium has an aesthetically pleasing matte tone to it, which is anthracite. We have one keeper which slides, and it's correctly proportioned. I think they could have enhanced this by using the industry standard of 2 keepers, one fixed keeper and a second sliding keeper, but however, this is subjective. Some collectors might just like the minimalist approach of a single keeper. So the strap will fit from a 6-inch minimum up to a maximum 8-inch wrist. As I've detailed, it's integrated, so the integrated lugs at their widest points have a 20mm lug width, but you can't fit conventional straps to this, and I think Atowak have missed an opportunity here because, for example, had they used a standard lug profile, a cutout for the lugs with a 20mm lug width, that would have meant you could exchange this with alternative 20mm straps, because 20mm is the industry standard for a 41mm head of the piece. This is 41.8. But because of the integrated profiling, you can only fit Atowak integrated straps, and that does limit the strap options for this piece. I think a standard 20mm lug width would have been better. As an alternative to spring bars, they've used titanium grade 5 screws, as you can see. So there's a flathead screw on the left hand flank, and on the other end there is a flathead screw. So it's double-ended screws, and you can use the 1.2mm included jeweler's screwdriver to remove the grade 5 titanium screws from the head of the piece if you want to exchange the strap. So integrated strap is a good fit to the piece. Now, the case is made from solid grade 5 titanium. Also, the case back, which is screwed on, is grade 5 titanium. The crown is nailed, and it's also grade 5 titanium. So this piece is entirely made from grade 5 titanium. As you can see, we've got cutouts on the flanks. Even the screws in the integrated strap and also the screws in the buckle and tang are all grade 5 titanium. So as I've detailed, world's first 180-degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, which I'll demonstrate in the time setting position. The hands are made from aluminium alloy and forged carbon fibre, which is innovative. So the actual centre portion, which is metallic, are made from aluminium alloy, and then the outer portion, the purple sections you can see, are actually made from forged carbon fibre. So this is an incredibly lightweight piece due to the titanium case back, crown, and the internals, which are made from aluminium alloy and forged carbon fibre as an alternative to 316L grade stainless steel, for example. This piece only weighs 88 grams. It's an incredibly lightweight piece, despite being a thick piece at 16.8mm thick, and also a large piece at 41.8. So the domed sapphire crystal in the centre is double domed, so it's curved on the underside, curved on the top side, and it has AR coating. The clear anti-reflective coating does a good job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the high dome profile to the double dome sapphire crystal. Now, it's very high domed. I think Atowak have missed an opportunity here, because they could have reduced the dome on this, because it does add significant thickness to the piece. This is a very tall piece. From the case back to the highest point of the double domed sapphire crystal, it is 16.8, and that's well in excess of the 13mm sweet spot. 3.8mm too thick, therefore it does wear like a top heavy piece. Even though it lacks heft at only 88 grams, it does feel very top heavy rather than being balanced. But AR coating on it, this curved section for the scale of the hours, as you can see, which is a semicircle or crescent moon shape, this is also glazed with sapphire crystal, and it also has AR coating on the underside. So the main crystal in the centre is AR coated. It's double dome sapphire crystal. This flat curved half moon shape register for the hours is also made from sapphire crystal. Now, in the case back, I'll show you, it also has a cutout exhibition case back. As you can see, that's also glazed with sapphire crystal, and it displays the movement used, which is the Atowak caliber AK-07BA automatic. But however, I think Atowak have missed an opportunity here, because you can see there's a second cutout shape, but they haven't cut it out. So they've made the screwed on case back from grade 5 titanium with 4 flathead titanium screws, but they've only done one cutout in a hexagon shape. As you can see, they've missed an opportunity of making a second cutout, because the exhibition case back doesn't really do a good job of displaying the movement used, and I think had they made a second cutout, that would have meant the movement was more visible, because it defeats the purpose of having an exhibition case back, only having one of these hexagon cutouts, because as you can see, they've done a good job of engraving and signing the rotor, and they've inlaid the engraving with gilt, and as you can see, you've got the Atowak emblem inlaid with gilt, but you can't really see it through this small aperture. So what they should have done was enlarge the exhibition case back, or simply cut out the second hexagon to have 2 hexagons both glazed with sapphire crystal. So they've really missed an opportunity. Now, with regards to the world's first 180-degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, I'll demonstrate that in the time setting position. So at 12 o'clock we have a nailed finish solid grade 5 titanium crown, which is signed with the Atowak emblem AK, as you can see. Nice chamfer to the edge of it, which deletes the sharp edge of the nailed teeth. Correctly proportioned. Now, it is recessed into the 12 o'clock position, the top edge of the case, but you can easily manually wind it in the closed position. So to clarify, what is the Atowak caliber AK-07BA automatic? Well, it's based upon the Selita caliber SW200-1 automatic, which you will all be familiar with. And what Atowak do with it is they modify it. So they delete the date complication, they delete the phantom date setting position, they remove the date wheel and the date complication. And in place of it, they add onto the cannon pinion the hexaprism 3D wandering hour system. So what that is that's two arms, as you can see, with two hands, and they have these rotating heads on them, and the heads are made from forged carbon fibre, and the shanks which they sit on are made from aluminium alloy, so it reduces the heft. Now, these two rotating heads, they rotate round with the hours, and they register on this scale at the lower portion of the head of the piece with minutes, and the minutes also rotate round. So this is called a hexaprism 3D wandering hour system. So in the closed position, the crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 30 metres of water resistance, which is acceptable for a daily wear piece. So you can rotate it with your thumb or index finger from right to left, and that has the effect of rotating the crown clockwise. So when the crown is closed, it's 30 metres water resistant. You don't need to pull it out, it's not a screw down crown. So when it's closed, you can rotate it from right to left, which is clockwise. That will manually wind the Atowak caliber AK07BA automatic to its maximum 38-hour power reserve. So it has the same 38-hour power reserve as the standard grade Sellita SW200-1, which it is based upon. So one can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 38 hours. Feels smooth, feels exactly the same to manually wind as a standard SW200-1. No discernible difference, even though it's modified with the date complication deleted. Now, pulling it out to the first click position is the final click position. And there is no phantom date setting position because they delete the date complication. So you only have one click on the crown rather than two, which is good. We're now in the time setting position. Now, like the SW200-1 it's based upon, this does hack, but we can't see that it's hacked because there is no second hand, and unfortunately we don't have a large cutout for the exhibition case back, so you can't see the balance wheel has now stopped dead. But this piece does have hacking, even though you can't set it precisely to the second because we don't have a second hand. So we're now in the time setting position, and you can rotate the hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, or the two hands if you like, clockwise or anti-clockwise using the crown. Now it feels very smooth. How it feels is very similar to setting the time on an SW200-1 with a three-hand piece. So for example, an hour, a minute and a second hand. It feels exactly the same. In terms of resistance of the gearing, there's no discernible difference. When you rotate the hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, or the two hands as you can see, they have minimal friction. There's good meshing in the gearing, feels exactly the same as setting the time on an SW200-1 powered piece, just like rotating the hour and minute hand. So as you can see, we have these two heads which are made from forged carbon fibre in purple, and they rotate around. They have white Arabic numerals for the hours. So I'm just going to bring it to 1:30, and then I'll explain how you read the time on it. Right. So you quickly become accustomed to this. You always look at the lower forged carbon fibre purple rotating hour indicator. So you can see it now says 1 for 1 o'clock. If you look at this scale on the lower portion of the head of the piece, you can now see the white Arabic numerals say 30, and that indicates 30 minutes. So the hour is the lower hand, as you can see, which is 1 for 1 o'clock, and on the minutes we have 30. So the time is now 1:30. So you don't look at the top one, you look at the lower hand, and it rotates round as it moves around the scale. So I'll slowly move it around and you'll see. So I'll start off at 0 minutes. Right, so if you look at the right, you can see it now says 0 minutes, and the next one is 05, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and so on. And it goes all the way up to 55, and then 60 is the last set of Arabic numerals, and then it resets back to 0. So you can see when the 1 for 1 o'clock gets round to 60, it then resets to the right hand side 0, 0, and then you'll see 2 on the lower portion moves around. Now it's now coming up from 2 up to 55, and then we're up to 60 minutes, and you can see 3 then starts on 0, 0 for 3 o'clock. And then it moves round. So I'll put it up to 3:30. And you quickly become accustomed to it. So you always look at the lower hand of the two purple hands. And so it now says 3 for 3 o'clock, and it's now pointing at 30 for 30 minutes, so it's now 3:30. Does take some getting used to, because we are all familiar with 2-hand and also 3-hand watches, for example with an hour, minute and second hand, rather than looking at these 2 purple hands which rotate around, and also this scale. But it is aesthetically pleasing. You can see from 00 they rotate around to 60 minutes, and you get used to seeing the cycling of the hour hand moving around the minutes on the lower portion of the head of the piece. And it works very well because they rotate clockwise and anti-clockwise smoothly. Now it's quiet. The thing to note is you can't hear it when it's rotating on wrist. It doesn't make any annoying clicking sound. It doesn't sound like a ratcheting mechanism. It feels very smooth, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. So when you're setting the time, it's quiet. And also when it's manually winding on wrist, you can't hear the rotor. It sounds exactly the same as a standard SW200-1, which it's based upon. The rotor doesn't make a lot of noise. So the movement itself, the Hexaprism 3D Wandering Hour system, does not make a lot of sound. It's very smooth. Feels exactly the same as a date complication on an SW200-1, clicking over to the next day of the month, for example. Doesn't have any indexing to it. So it feels very smooth. And they deserve credit because it does take a lot of work to modify an SW200-1 to delete the date wheel, the date complication and the phantom date setting position, and to add on the 180-degree Hexaprism 3D Wandering Hour system. So Atowak deserve credit because this is a world first. It does work very well. Now, the only problem with it is it's unproven because it's new. And I would like to see this in service for 2 years, and that would prove the reliability of it, because as it stands, it's a new release and therefore it's unproven. Previously, they've used modified Miyota calibers and they are well proven, they are reliable, but this is the first time they've used a Sellita caliber SW200-1 and modified this with a Canon pinion having this Hexaprism 3D Wandering Hour system sitting on top of it. So it is loading the movement with a lot of additional mechanism, and my concern would be reliability. Is this going to be durable, robust and reliable? As it stands, it's unproven, but that's the risk one has to take. So pushing it back in restarts the movement, and as you can see, it works very well. So hand winding is very smooth, setting the time is good, and there's minimal backplay in it, so it works very well, but as it stands, it's unproven. So let's look at the strap in detail. So as I've detailed, integrated strap, and as an alternative, they've included this leather strap, which I don't think goes with the purple, but it's subjective. Some collectors might like that. This one is made from sailcloth weave, and it's lined on the underside with leather, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. So as an alternative to spring bars, we've got these grade 5 titanium flathead screws, double-ended screws, and we've got the 1.2mm jeweler screwdriver included. So good quality strap, plenty of holes in it. It will fit from a 6 to an 8-inch wrist. Feels very soft and supple at the buckle and tang end. It's padded, so it's thicker at the integrated lug end. So it's going to be durable, robust, but I think they've missed an opportunity by just not using a cutout with standard spring bars. That would mean you could change this for alternative standard 20mm straps versus these integrated ones, but the strap is good. Sailcloth weave is soft and supple, it's aesthetically pleasing, 6 to 8 inches is enough holes, and the quality of the stitching around the perimeter is good. The grained black leather liner to it is smooth, so it feels comfortable to wear the piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So let's look at the case back. So as I've detailed, we've got an exhibition case back, and we've got this hexagon shaped cutout which is glazed with sapphire crystal, and that does a good job of displaying the movement. Now the negative is it does display the balance wheel running, but they haven't cut out the second hexagon as I've detailed. They've missed an opportunity. This would look better if they'd had 2 cutouts versus 1, because then one could see the movement better. For example, they've signed the rotor with AK and inlaid it with gilt, but you can't really see it because we've only got this small aperture. It's a thin case back, it's flat, although it does have a textured profile to it, engraved with the specification of the Manta-X and also Atowak logo, and we've got 4 flat head grade 5 titanium screws securing it. 30 meters is acceptable, and it's flat, it's not too thick. As you can see, it's not a bubble back case back, but it does provide enough adequate clearance for the rotor on the underside of the Atowak caliber AK07BA, which is the modified SW200-1. And for a slight finish to it, no sharp edges, does feel smooth and comfortable against the wrist, so it is comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. Integrated lugs are well finished, no sharp edges, no sharp corners, deburred and chamfered very well. The left and the right hand flanks, the undercuts to the grade 5 titanium case are deburred and chamfered, so although it does have an angular profile to the underside to the head of the piece and the case back, it doesn't feel sharp, it feels smooth. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, this will fit from a minimum 6-inch wrist up to a maximum 8-inch wrist. So, on a positive note, I can just engage the end of the sailcloth weave and leather strap, as you can see. The end of the strap will engage in the single keeper and also the titanium buckle and tang. So it's long enough to fit up to an 8-inch wrist. 6 inches to 8 inch will cover the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7 or 7.5 inch wrist. Now the thing to note is this piece does wear with wrist presence. Not only is it a tall piece at 16.8, it's also got a long lug to lug measurement of 49.4. So I often refer to the sweet spot in my previous reviews as 48mm. That is the perfect lug to lug measurement because it fits collectors regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. Needless to say, at 49.4 it's 1.4mm too long. So clearly this piece is only suitable for collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches plus. If you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you can rule this piece out because it's too tall, too much wrist presence at 41.8 diameter, and also too long at 49.4. They could have shortened up the case down to 48mm. That would enhance the comfort level and the feel good factor, and it would make it possible for collectors with a smaller wrist to enjoy the piece, but at 49.4, even on my large 8-inch wrist, it is a long case. The thing I dislike about this piece overall, above all else, is it's very tall. This high dome, double dome sapphire crystal is aesthetically pleasing. It does add interest to the piece, and it does a good job of displaying the hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, but it adds too much thickness. It's too high domed. They could have reduced this by 1.5 or 2 millimeters because 16.8 is a very tall piece. And this does have wrist presence. Now the problem with it being 16.8 is, needless to say, this is not easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So if you want to wear this as a daily wear piece, you're not going to be able to slide it underneath a shirt cuff. 13mm is the sweet spot. Anything below 13 will slide underneath a shirt cuff, and it doesn't feel top heavy, it feels balanced. But at 16.8, this does feel like a bulky, top heavy piece. Now if you enjoy large pieces that wear with wrist presence, you might enjoy the 16.8 thickness, but I think it's too thick and too tall to be comfortable to wear for long periods of time. It does have a large slab profile to this angle integrated lug, as you can see. Some collectors might like the brutalist design of that, but I think they could have reduced this angle integrated lug because it is a large slab of grade 5 titanium, and I think the angular profile could have been reduced because it does look a very tall angular piece, but of course that is the design of it. It's brutalist design, it's meant to be futuristic. Legibility is surprisingly good. The white Arabic numerals contrast very well on the purple forged carbon fibre hands, as you can see, so you can actually read the time easily. And the minutes, which are white Arabic numerals in the lowest scale for the minutes, they also contrast very well. The white contrasts with the purple, so it actually is good. It's easy to read, although this minute scale is very shiny and glossy, even though it does have AR coating on it, so that is highly reflective, but you do become accustomed to reading the time. Wrist presence is dominant, so that's something to bear in mind. It's a large piece, tall piece, and also long piece. 41.8 diameter, 49.4 is a long case, 16.8 is very tall. 20mm lug width is integrated, so it does look okay. The taper on the sailcloth strap is good, but it just doesn't balance it because it feels like the sailcloth strap and also titanium buckle feel very light. But the problem is the head of the piece feels more top heavy, and therefore it always feels like it sits on top of the wrist like a slab of grade 5 titanium. It doesn't really curve around the wrist even though it has an angular profile because we have a large gap beneath the tips of the lugs, as you can see. It doesn't really pull snug to the wrist. So it really does sit on top of the wrist like a block or a slab of grade 5 titanium. On a positive note, it's only 85 grams, so although it is a large piece, it doesn't feel heavy in the sense of the heft, although it just doesn't feel balanced. It feels very bulky and top heavy. So it's an aesthetically pleasing piece if you appreciate futuristic design or brutalist design, but in terms of comfort level and feel good factor, I would say they're poor, unless you have a large wrist of 7 to 8 inches. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, it's too tall, too thick, and also too long. And really they could have reduced the proportions down to a more wearable 40mm head of the piece and slimmed down the thickness. For example, if this were 13 to 14mm, it would feel less top heavy, it would be more comfortable, the comfort level, the feel good factor would be enhanced. They could have reduced the lug to lug to 48, that would be the sweet spot, and a 40mm diameter by 48 lug to lug would be the perfect size for this piece, with a 13 to 14mm thickness, reducing the double dome. As it stands, it's too large, it's too long, and also too thick, so proportions could do with refinement. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, we have BGW9 Super Lume Nova used on the forged carbon fibre hands, which are purple. And then on the lowest scale, the Arabic numerals are lumed with BGW9 as well. So just bear with me, I'm going to pull out the crown into the time setting position and I'll rotate it while we're in the dark, and you can see how it might look when the time changes. So you can see the Arabic numerals on the minute scale on the lower portion of the head of the piece. They are fully lumed with BGW9. The two forged carbon fibre hands, which are purple, they are also lumed with BGW9. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus again. So I'm just going to stop it and then we'll try and get the camera to focus. Now, immediately you can see the problem. This is not 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. We're clearly looking at 2 to 3 layers or a maximum of 3 to 4 layers, because you can see now it's immediately faded to nothing. I can't even get the camera to focus on it. No. Just bear with me, I'll turn the lights back on again. And then I'm going to charge it up a second time, because when I level criticism at a brand, I like to be fair rather than unfair. I like to be unbiased. So I'm just going to charge it up to the absolute maximum again, both in daylight, and then I'll do it again in the dark, because I want to check the maximum potency of the exciter in this BGW9. And then we'll test it. And I'll do it without rotating the hands, because I want the camera to focus on it while it's fading. I just want to see how long this is going to last, because my concern is the exciter doesn't seem to be holding charge for a long length of time. That tells me that this is not 5 to 6 layers on the forged carbon hands and also the minute scale Arabic numerals. So my concern is I think we're looking at 2 to 3 layers versus 5 to 6. So as you can see, the exciter is now beginning to fade and fade quickly. So we're definitely not looking at 5 to 6 layers, which is the industry standard. Now, I want you to bear in mind something. This is a mid-tier piece, $3,800 US, which is €3,500. One could be magnanimous about poor quality Super Lume Nova performance if we're looking at a low-tier Chinese piece below the €100 price point, or even below €500 in the low tier. But this is mid-tier, where $3,800 US, which is €3,500. It has to be 5 to 6 at this price point, because that is the optimum. It's the industry standard for good reason. Now you can see the problem. It's immediately fading to nothing. So the exciter in the BGW9 does not have 5 to 6 layers, and this is poor quality performance. It is very disappointing. €3,500, this is not good enough. Atowak really need to engrave the Arabic numerals deeper and then inlay them with BGW9. If they want to add potency, they could also use X1 as the exciter mixed in with BGW9, and X1 plus BGW9, 5 to 6 layers, that would give incredible potency, as we've seen on other pieces at this price point. This is not good enough. 2 to 3 layers on the carbon fibre, the forged carbon hands, and also the minute scale, the Arabic numerals. It's now fading to nothing, and I'm very disappointed with it. So, as I've said, when I level criticism at a brand, I like to be fair. So I did the Lume test twice. I charged it up in daylight and also in the dark. Did it twice. I was concerned why the camera couldn't focus on the Lume fading, so that indicated 2 to 3 layers, because it was fading so quickly the camera couldn't autofocus on it. So very disappointing from Atowak. So let's discuss the movement used. Now, you'll all be familiar with the Sellita SW200-1 automatic, which is Swiss made. Atowak deserve credit because previously they've used Miyota calibers and then they've modified them, but this is the first time they've used a Swiss made Sellita SW200-1 and modified it with the world's first 180 degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system. So the SW200-1 is a high quality movement. It has 26 joules, hand winding and hacking. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Now, Atowak are regulating it to plus or minus 13 seconds per day. When this one is fully wound to its maximum 38-hour power reserve, it is running consistently at plus 10. Plus 10 is well within the plus or minus 13 that Atowak regulate their movements to in 5 positions, but it's not very impressive. For example, it is possible to regulate a top grade or chronometer grade SW200-1 in 5 positions to chronometer grade accuracy of -4 to +6. So plus 10 is acceptable for a standard grade of SW200-1. It is within the standard grade regulation, but it's not very impressive. So Atowak could do better than plus or minus 13. Plus 10 is within that, but I would like to see them regulate the movements in 5 positions to chronometer grade accuracy of -4 to +6, because again, we're looking at a mid-tier piece costing €3,500 here. We're not looking at a low-tier piece costing below €500 with an SW200-1. So really, when one gets to €3,500, it has to be chronometer grade accuracy if you're going to use an SW200-1. -4 to +6 is easily attainable if you regulate it in 5 positions. Plus or minus 13 is okay, but really it's not good enough. So it has hand winding and hacking, and there are no seconds because they delete the second hand. They also delete the date complication. So the positive benefit of that is there is no phantom date setting position on the crown. The hand winding works well. The hacking works well. It's possible to set the time, but you can't set the time precisely to the second because we have no second hand. We've only got these 2 forged carbon fibre purple hands and then the minutes on the lower scale. So it's a good base as an alternative to Miyota calibers such as the 9015 or 9039, for example, and it's good to see Atowak moving up a level to the SW200-1. I appreciate it does take significant work to delete the date wheel, date complication, phantom date setting position on the crown, and add on top of the cannon pinion the 180 degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system. So a lot of work has gone into modifying it, but it's a shame they haven't showed it off, because as I've detailed, they could have just glazed this screwed down exhibition case back fully with sapphire crystal to show off the movement, because it is decorated with engraving and the inlay is gilt, and they've skeletonized the rotor, but we can't really see the rotor, so we can't see this modified SW200-1, which is called the Atowak Caliber AK07BA automatic. This titanium case back really should be deleted. They could either cut out the second hexagon or simply just use a sapphire exhibition case back, open it up so we can see that modified movement, because at €3,500 you want to see the movements, not just this small aperture with a small hexagon. It's not good enough. This is the kind of case back I would expect on a low tier piece costing below €500, not €3,500. They need to improve the case back. So disappointing, but the movement itself, I don't know about the reliability. It's unproven because it's new. It's the world's first 180 degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system fitted to a modified Sellita SW200-1. So I can't tell you about the reliability, the long-term durability, because it's new. But the SW200-1 is reliable. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss caliber. It's a good quality movement, one of my personal favourites. It's a good base for this system, the wandering hour system. So works well. My concern would be long-term reliability. It needs to be proven. I would like to see this after 2 years and see, is it still reliable? Is it still running at plus 10 seconds per day, for example? Does the hand winding, does the hacking still work well after 2 years of service? Because this is the concern with modified movements. The long-term durability, the long-term reliability. You could spend €3,500 and then the movement breaks down. Now it is covered with a 2-year international warranty, but that's why I want to see it proven for 2 years of service to be absolutely sure it's money well spent. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So, Mid-tier piece, price point is $3,800 which is €3,500. I'm going to declare it good quality, but I'm going to declare the value as poor. The reason why I say the value is good, not excellent, is because of the disappointing performance of the BGW9. It's 2 to 3 layers versus 5 to 6. It fades very quickly. The exciter isn't potent. So I can't say it's excellent quality at €3,500 because of poor BGW9 Super Lume Nova. They need to upgrade that. Value, I think, is poor because this does face stiff competition. Now, I appreciate it's made from grade 5 titanium and it also uses a Swiss SW200-1, so it's expensive to manufacture, but even though they've put a lot of work into modifying it with the world's first 180-degree hexaprism 3D wandering hour system, it's expensive at €3,500. I would like to see Atowak reduce the price point to below €2,000. That would make it more competitive in the mid-tier with grade 5 titanium case and modified SW200-1. I appreciate the movement is a world first, it's innovative, they deserve credit, but this really does not say to me €3,500. It says below €2,000 price point. BGW9 does need to be upgraded regardless. So, good quality, poor value. I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration, but bear in mind the main negative of the piece, which is the poor quality Super Lume Nova. Hope you've enjoyed my review of the Atowak Manta-X. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.